Hello and welcome to another KitPlus TV show. We're here with the support of Mediaproxy. So, market disruption will push the media industry towards greater risk-taking in 2021. That is the prediction of the DPP.
And if you didn't know, the DPP are the media industry's business network who bring together customers and suppliers to solve problems and create opportunities with a membership including hundreds of companies from around the globe.
Yeah, the DPP 2021 predictions were drawn up by more than 30 senior leaders from across the membership. They paint a picture of an industry focused on survival and redefinition, and we're delighted to welcome DPP CEO Mark Harrison onto the show. So welcome, Mark. I gather there were 8 predictions with particular emphasis on 4 key factors. Should we start optimistically with the COVID-19 recovery and how the workplace is going to be probably redefined somewhat?
Perhaps it's no surprise that the question of the way we're going to work after the pandemic is over is the one that really dominated discussion during our session, drawing up these predictions. But, it's very, very complicated because some people were reporting that their workforces just cannot wait to get back into the office, 5 days a week, 9 till 5. And others are reporting that their workforces are saying that no way will they ever come back as they did before. And it's going to take some time, I think we can all agree, before we work out what the kind of new equilibrium is. However, one thing we can be certain of is that there'll be a huge amount of attention given to trying to define what exactly a physical workplace is for. And there'll be far more awareness of the use of physical spaces for collaboration and creativity. So I think, that trend that we were in over the sort of 5 years before COVID towards kind of packing people in, just sort of rows of desks, it was like a kind of destruction of the whole principle of open plan working that had come a few years before, because people realized, actually, in open plan, you could save lots of money if you pack people in. I think we'll see a reversal of that.
Mm. Yeah. And as far as consolidation and disruption, we hear that in the media market quite often. How are those affecting organizations and suppliers?
Yeah, this was an interesting one because it was the first time in one of our sessions that we had people actually call out overtly, there will be fewer companies in this business, in a year's time. Companies will go to the wall in 2021, and it will make last year actually look kind of oddly stable by comparison. I think the effect of all this is going to be that we'll see more mergers and acquisitions. And we will see, more sort of style takeovers as well, but we'll also see more partnerships forming as companies seek either to gain security by being partnered with somebody else or to extend their capability whilst not extending their risk. But the other thing we're going to see in the procurement process is a huge emphasis upon kind of due diligence and making sure that companies actually are secure and sound financially. It's a good time to already have a strong relationship with your customer because you've probably got more chance of them increasing their work with you if you've already survived all this than them going to somebody new.
Yeah. And the economy, as what the effects of 2020 putting into 21 getting there maybe, I don't know how quickly, but the economy will bounce back. Inevitably, it's going to across the world. What trends are then going to come out of that? What are we predicting there?
Well, that also is going to be a really, I think, interesting and quite confusing mix. On the one hand, we will see in our business that there will be a huge upsurge in content making because there's no constraint anymore. So, literally, film crews can go anywhere. So that'll be great. However, they'll be doing it with constrained budgets because the commissioning bodies have had a really tough time because advertising revenue's been down, subscriptions have maybe stalled a bit. On the other hand, advertising revenue is likely to go up because suddenly people are doing things again, so it feels reasonable to be, marketing to them, to selling them, to go and buy things. and the economy will be very active. But it doesn't take a genius to work out that where the activity will mostly happen will be outdoors. So I think that mobile-based activity, live programming, crowd-based events, those things are going to be huge. But we could see a dip in content consumption in the home.
Mm.
So, yes, of course, yeah.
In terms of a risk, how do you see future preparedness for risks? I mean, we've seen the last 12 months, and we really relate to this because we've definitely stepped out of our comfort zone. Yeah. Those that have not acted and taken a risk have often ended up in a worse state than those that have been prepared to take a few risks.
Yeah, I think this is going to be kind of good for everybody. Although risks, by definition, does mean that some, unfortunately, will fail. But we're already hearing from suppliers that that they're finding that customers are prepared to try something out, to work with them on a beta and to develop it. They're not saying quite so much, oh well, it looks interesting, but we've got to know that somebody else is using it before we will. They know they need to move quickly, otherwise they're going to be at a serious competitive disadvantage. So risk taking around new products and services. But I think also we can expect to see risks around people, how people organize their businesses, how they deploy their workforces, the kinds of working techniques that they have. In a sense, you can look at any company and ask, what is it that it should have done ages ago, but it's been reluctant to?
Yeah.
I think now is the moment where we could see it actually take the plunge.
Yeah, just do it. Put yourself out there. So let's.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Finish with have you got any real key predictions for 2021? What are we going to see? What's the industry going to look like?
What's it going to look like? Well, this is more of a personal prediction, but again, it's not a particularly hard one to get to. I think the second half of this year, assuming that the vaccination programs really do keep going, and we do get reduction in the constrictions, I think we'll see an enormous amount of energy, creative energy. It's going to feel like a very, very vibrant time. But that's going to make it also quite weird because a lot of the difficulties and difficult market conditions of the last few months are also going to play themselves out. So we're going to see companies falling by the wayside, just as other companies are absolutely booming. I mean, there's no question there will be some companies that emerge from this very well. The other thing we're going to see is we're going to see new companies. It may not be at the end of all this that the total number of players in the media ecosystem is actually fewer. This is going to be different because we'll see companies coming in from other sectors because we're going to hasten the move towards being an IT-based industry. And in doing that, it means suddenly we become a kind of relevant space to companies that have the right kind of tech for our business, but haven't got a broadcast background.
So it is going to be, to a certain degree, it's going to be those companies that don't take a risk, as in making that move towards an IT-based infrastructure, if you like. And they're the ones that risk falling by the wayside, where the ones that are willing to jump into the new technologies and get on with it and put themselves out there are going to be the ones that have a better chance of survival. And
I think that's right. And there'll be a risk of falling by the wayside, yes, because their technology is no longer deemed appropriate, but also precisely because attitudinally they didn't move. And I think there's going to be an impatience now with suppliers and partners who don't demonstrate that they have kind of agile, flexible, adaptable way of thinking and working and behaving. If you don't show that kind of body language, I think that alone could be what dooms you.
Mark, the DPP represent, as we said when we introduced you, hundreds of companies. Do you see a recognizable split in the technologies that they deploy, in the fact that which ones are more likely to take risks and which ones aren't?
I don't think, sorry, forgive all these negatives. I don't think there are many companies that are not looking at taking risks. Right? Actually, perhaps the thing we should have talked about is the ability to make decisions quickly. And this one is interesting because this isn't necessarily to do with any kind of cultural failing in some companies. It can be to do with history, legacy, scale, complexity. So, for instance, if you look at the position that national public service broadcasters find themselves in, it's very difficult for them to make decisions fast and move quickly. Not because they are stupid and bad people who don't understand the future. Far from it. It's because the kind of regulatory environment in which they operate, the constraints that their position creates for them, just makes it very, very difficult. And so, I do worry a bit for those. And I really hope that increasingly national governments start to appreciate that if they're going to maintain the importance and the power of public service content creation, they really do have to help these companies, to be able to operate in a more agile way in the current market.
Yeah, that's a very good point to finish on.
Ourselves with agility.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark, for joining us. And let's see how those predictions pan out over the year. And you can actually view a full list of the predictions and insight from the DPP. And we've made a short link to kitplus.com/DPP 2021, where you can download the full document there.
Yes, and thanks to Mediaproxy for supporting the show, and you can check out more about them at mediaproxy.com. Please subscribe to the show, and we'll see you next time.